Hi, I'm Salarah Starre and welcome to the Salarah Starre podcast. With over 20 years of experience, I've had the privilege of working with thousands worldwide and sharing my expertise across various media platforms. This podcast is your go-to resource for mastering manifestation and unlocking your ultimate magnetism. Hit subscribe so you never miss an episode, and let's dive in. And a very warm welcome to the Salarah Starre podcast with myself, Salarah Starre. And today we are going to be exploring a very interesting topic that comes up for many of my one-to-one clients. We're going to be exploring envy and how it is one of the ultimate manifestation blockers. We're going to be looking at what it is, how it blocks us, and how you can actually turn it into fuel for your own manifestation journey. That sounds interesting. So if you're new here, it is lovely to have you here. I'm a manifestation and mindset coach who helps people move beyond the kind of happy, clappy, surface level manifesting and positive thinking, and help people to do the deep work of rewiring subconscious patterns, healing old wounds, and creating from true and authentic alignment. So this, my friends, is not about quick fixes. If you're here because you're looking for a quick fix, you're definitely in the wrong place. But it is about real sustainable change from inside out. So first of all, let's take a sneaky little look at the definition of envy. Envy is when you feel a longing or a resentment about something someone else has because you want it for yourself. It's different from jealousy, and jealousy usually involves fear of losing something that you already have. But in everyday language, they do get mixed up a lot, and I've always been a bit confused between the two. So for the purpose of our conversation, I'm going to mention both, but we're going to be focusing on envy. So envy is sometimes called the green-eyed monster, and that's for a good reason. It can take over our thinking. It can drain our energy, which can feel palpable, and it can lead to all sorts of projections onto other people, but also actually change the way that we show up in these relationships or connections. And we're going to talk a little bit more about that a bit later on. So why is envy so disruptive in manifesting? Envy is more than just an uncomfortable, ugly, horrible, messy feeling. It is an energetic block. And when you're fixated on what someone else has, you're actually sending out the energy of lack and resentment and separation. And you're basically saying, I don't have it. They do. And that bothers me. And here's the messy truth about it. You can end up not even liking those people, which if you don't know them, I guess isn't too bad. But this can be really challenging if it's somebody that you know personally. If it's a friend, a family member, somebody in your circle. You can find yourself having to smile sweetly and act supportive and act happy for them, but all the while underneath, you're harboring all sorts of negative feelings towards them. And that is challenging because you don't want to be feeling these feelings towards them, especially if you understand about the law of attraction. That can then send you off into a deeper spin. But what do we do about it? And that split between what you feel and what you're showing the world, as I say, that's even more energetically misaligned. So you're pretending to be okay when you're not. And that doesn't just feel heavy. It feels fake. It feels incongruent. It feels clunky. It creates inner conflict that drags down your energy and your vibration even further. But don't worry, we're not going to keep you there. I'm just explaining this to start with, and then we're going to get this sorted out. So we know now that it lowers your vibration. What it does is it aligns you with frustration. It aligns you with more comparison, more scarcity. It aligns you more with not receiving what you want. It also then splits your focus. So instead of building your own dreams, you're busy staring at someone else's. And like I said, this is a challenging feeling, and some traditions actually call this the evil eye. That idea of wishing ill or projecting negativities onto others. It isn't just questionable from an integrity perspective, but it backfires on us energetically. It's like accumulating negative karma in your own karmic bank, if you like. So when we send out feelings of envy or jealousy, we're essentially placing an energetic curse on ourselves. So on a more practical side, the more time you spend envying someone else's success, the less time and energy you have to build your own. So this isn't just spiritual woo-woo. This is a logical and factual thing. So you're literally wasting your time. You're wasting the time you could be using to move forward. And I remember when I had this myself, when a friend of mine, she had got into a relationship with a new guy, ever so lovely and happy for them. But he owned a boat, a big boat that they would often go out every weekend, and she would share her adventures online. And I can't pretend that I didn't feel it. I felt envious, and I really was challenged with feeling that feeling, especially knowing what I know about the law of attraction. And it came to me. It was like, my darling, why are you spending your time on focusing on what they're doing when you could be using that energy to build your dreams? And I was like, if I really wanted to manifest a boat and I was willing to focus my energy and attention on it, I could experience the same thing. But I guess the dream wasn't important enough to me because there were other dreams that were way more important to me and way more aligned. So envy is like watering someone else's garden whilst yours dries up. And every moment you spend obsessing over their blessings is a moment you're not planting or tending to your own seeds. Instead, it's almost like, if we're using the garden metaphor, you're poking your head over their fence, only to get a limited view, by the way, of their garden. We never see the full picture. And you're spending time seething whilst your garden grows weeds, and all the beautiful flowers that you've planted in the past, they start to die in the process. Let's look at a reframe. So now we know it's negative. We know it's not good. We know it's not going to help you get where it is that you want to get to. So what is the reframe? What is the shift? So what if envy isn't just about a block? What if it is actually a compass? What if it's helping you manifest your dreams? When you feel envy, it's basically showing you something that you want. It's highlighting a desire that exists within you. So instead of denying it or projecting negativity, you can get curious. And what is this showing me about what I want to create in my life? The people who trigger envy in us, they are usually expanders. They're here to help us to expand. They're living proof that something is possible. And instead of seeing them as competition or a threat, you can see them as evidence that it can be done. One of my favorite quotes, if it's possible in the world, then it's possible for me. And that energy can be alchemized into inspiration. It can fuel you into action, but of course only if you are willing to do the work. And here's where we do need to get really real. If you envy someone's success, you envy their relationship, their lifestyle, their health, their freedom, whatever it might be, you can ask yourself, do I actually want that? Or do I just want to feel better about myself? Because sometimes we don't actually want the thing. We just want it because we want the world to think that we're successful and to feel better about ourselves as a human, to feel validated, to feel important, or whatever limiting beliefs we may be operating from. And we can ask ourselves, am I craving the genuine experience of what they have? Or am I just doing it because I want to prove something? And these questions are really important because if the answers are, I want to feel better about myself, or I want to do it just to prove something, there may be some of the other stuff in there too. But remember, the energy you come from will determine where you are going. So if you're doing it just to feed that part of you that doesn't feel great about yourself, to feed that part of you that feels you need to prove something to the world, that's a very limited energy for you to bring into your manifestation. It's tainted, it's limited, it's diseased. It's not going to bring you the optimal soil to not only plant, but to grow your seeds into the most beautiful garden. It's almost like having toxic soil in your garden and wondering why your plants aren't growing. And then asking yourself, like, am I willing to actually do what it takes to create and sustain that in my life? Am I willing? Or do I just want it handed to me on a plate? And many of us do. We just want the quick fix. We want it handed to us on the plate. We don't want to have to do the deep inner work on ourselves to create that, to sustain that, to enjoy that. And anything that's ever handed to us on a plate, we never really fully appreciate anyway. We only appreciate something that we've really earned the blood, the sweat, the tears in creating it. I remember my mentor once said to me, he said, think of a degree that you might want. And at that point, he said, let's just use the example of a rocket scientist. I would definitely not want that because it's not energy that I want to expend on something like that, but for the purpose of this. And he said, imagine if I said to you, oh, Salarah, I said, you don't need to go and spend 5 to 10 years getting that. I have the authority to write this out because I'm on the board of certification, whatever it might be called. And I can just give that to you now. Nobody will know about it. I can just give this to you. It's fully kosher, even if they check it out. He said, how would you feel? And I said, well, to start with, I'd feel pretty good about it. But actually, in reality, I wouldn't know what the hell I'm talking about. I'd have no idea. I'd have no idea when people are having conversations with me about certain aspects of it, which I'd lose confidence. I'd have no idea about implementation, structure, procedure. I'd have no idea about any of it. So I said, actually, even though on one hand, my ego would see it as a quick fix and feel good about it, on the other hand, I wouldn't actually be able to do anything with it. Nothing that was authentic and nothing that was real anyway. So what's the point? I wouldn't get anywhere with it. And it's the same when it comes to our practice. When we earn something. So if I was to go to university and rocket school or whatever it's called, and I was to apply myself, to show up every single day, to stay up into the middle of the night doing the hard work, those moments when I just want to give up and throw in the towel, but I keep going, and eventually after years, I finally get that certification. I finally get that degree. How would I feel? Absolutely amazing. I would feel a sense of achievement, a sense of self-worth, a sense of self-respect, because I would have earned that and I'd feel good about that. And that's the same with this journey. So am I willing to do what it takes to create and sustain that in my life? Or do I want it handed to me? It's going to tell you a lot about what it is that you are wanting to create or why you are envious of somebody else. Because if you were ready and willing to do the real work, you could have that too. Manifestation isn't just magic that just drops and lands in your lap. It requires work. It requires responsibility, accountability. It requires consistency. And people who create extraordinary lives usually take these kind of character traits or nurture them, determination and focus. And it's not to say that they are even natural abilities to them. They've built that over time. So you may not have any determination or dedication or consistency right now. And neither did they, but they built that muscle over time. They invest time and energy in themselves. They have healthy boundaries with themselves and the world. So it's time, my friends, to get really honest with yourself. Is there something that you are envious of and something that you are truly ready and willing to work towards? Because if so, you can absolutely have that too. And let's look at another energetic truth. When you genuinely wish other people well, you are aligning yourself with abundance and possibility on higher levels than ever before. If you see someone else's success and think, I hope that they get even more. I hope that they are even happier. I hope that they enjoy more than they even know is possible right now. You're telling the universe, I believe there's more than enough for everybody, including me. And that's powerful. That raises your vibration. That opens you to receiving. And that keeps your energy clean. So when you stop wasting time and energy on resentment, you're going to have way more bandwidth to focus on your goals. You become effortlessly magnetic. People are going to want to work with you, be around you, help you. They're going to want to see you win. And of course, it's a self-reinforcing loop of positivity that will only increase. It's a snowball effect. So instead of seeing envy as something shameful that you haven't achieved or destructive, and even feeling bad just about feeling envy in itself, see it as information, see it as feedback, see it as information that you're knocking on a closed and locked door. wasting time and energy. Because as far as your dreams go, if that door was open, you would just see a brick wall, because that's not your path. These people are showing you what is possible, and you can use that to clarify what you actually want. You can use it as a signpost. You can use it to start taking accountability, to stop making excuses, to look after yourself, to build healthy boundaries, to focus on your own growth. So you do not need to want everything that you envy, remember that. But what it is going to do is help you become clear on what it is that you want to experience and create and invest your time and energy into. So anyway, if this episode resonated with you today, I invite you to reflect on where envy might be showing up in your life and how you can turn it into a signpost for your own alignment. If you're ready to go deeper, to do the real work of rewiring your subconscious patterns and manifesting from genuine alignment and fun and joy and creativity, because it's something you actually want and you're hungry for and you're willing to work for, I'd love to support you through one-to-one coaching. You can find the details in the show notes, or you can reach out to me directly. And of course, if you found this episode valuable, please consider liking and sharing and following this podcast on whatever platform you're listening to it on. Your support means so much to me, and it means that I can continue bringing this forward to you. So thank you for taking the time listening to the Salarah Starre podcast. And until next time, keep dreaming, keep aligning, and keep choosing your own growth above looking over somebody else's fence. Take care. Bye for now. Thank you for tuning in to the Salarah Starre podcast. If you enjoyed this episode, make sure that you hit subscribe so that you never miss out. And you can stay connected with me on Instagram at Salarah Starre. And for even more inspiration and explore my courses and coaching at salarahstarre.com. You deserve to live a deeply connected and fulfilling life. And it's only you that can make it happen.